Hi, everybody. It's Jennifer Schaus coming to you live from Washington, D.C. today, and thanks for joining us in our webinar covering You've Won a Federal Supply Schedule, Now What? This is going to be a short presentation just going through some basics about federal supply schedules, more specifically GSA schedules. So let's go ahead and dig into the presentation. Our agenda is going to be pretty short and sweet, give you a little bit of background about us, talk about some basics of the federal supply schedules, how you can use public data that's out there in the federal market, and then once you do have that federal supply schedule, we'll talk about some of the boxes that you need to check in regards to compliance, marketing, and sales. I'll then make some concluding remarks, and we'll wrap up from there. Okay, so as a little bit of background, we are based in downtown Washington, D.C., and primarily work with companies to get onto the GSA schedule. We also help companies that already have a heartbeat on the schedule with post-award compliance, renewals, GSA modifications, as well as the customer-assisted visits, which are more or less an financial auditing check that GSA conducts. We work with product, service, and software companies, small businesses, large businesses, domestic, foreign, everything A to Z, and all the companies in between. You've got my contact information here on the bottom right-hand corner. So if you have any questions regards to today's presentation or any other services that we provide, please feel free to contact us directly. So as I mentioned here, this is just kind of a recap of the background of the services that we provide, and we'll go ahead and dig into the basics here. So a lot of times companies come to us and it's kind of this chicken and egg question that they have. You know, they want to sell to the government. Do they need a GSA schedule? Or perhaps they've gotten the schedule and then they're confused about then how to get customers. Well, we will kind of answer this chicken and egg question as we go through today's presentation. Okay, so let's first talk about the basics and what the GSA schedule is, sometimes referred to as FSS, Federal Supply Schedule. GSA has gone through a series of consolidations recently, and now companies are pretty much on the GSA schedule, which is a multiple award schedule, or MAS. Multiple award meaning that there are multiple companies who have been awarded the schedule, which is pretty much a vendor shortlist. There's roughly about 18 to 20,000 companies that hold the GSA schedule, and being on this vendor shortlist allows the federal government to purchase from you directly. It makes it easier for them because you've been vetted up front, you've jumped through some hoops to demonstrate your past performance. You've shown that you've sold these products, services, or software in the past by uploading invoices into your proposal package. You've offered GSA a great price, which is really the main factor of the schedule. You're demonstrated your past performance by through other contracts, whether they're commercial, government, nonprofit, or just any type of contract that you've done to show that you've done this type of work before. Because it is a contract, it is going to come with terms and conditions. So you want to make sure that you've read the solicitation and you understand exactly what those terms and conditions are. The schedule is also not required. It's really just a marketing tool, and it's one of many, many ways that the government has to purchase. It's simply an option. Again, it is not required at all to sell to the government. In fact, it's only used about 10 to 15% of the time in federal procurements. But it does represent billions of dollars. And of the 18 to 20,000 companies that are on the schedule, the top 20% of those companies are doing about 80% of the work. So you want to make sure that you are not in the bottom 80% that has a big fat zero next to their name for revenue coming to them through the schedule. Okay, so we're going to talk about how you can avoid that scenario. So the federal government is so unique, and it's a really interesting market to sell to because there is so much public data that's out there that is absolutely free. As long as you've got an internet connection and you know what websites to go to, you can navigate to them to these websites and reverse engineer to understand who is your customer and how do they purchase. Are they using the GSA schedule or are they using another procurement method? So you want to conduct that research before you decide to get onto the schedule to make sure that it's going to be worth your while and that there is return on your investment. So once you've got that data, you can then create a strategy, and your strategy is obviously then going to be based on factual data, historical performance, maybe going back 3 or 4 years to determine what contracts then are coming up for renewal that you would have a good chance of winning. And again, all of this data is publicly available. You can either navigate to it yourself, or you can use one of the numerous providers that are out there that aggregate federal government contracting data. So here's just a couple examples of how the government purchases. The large majority is coming in at full and open competition. And this means those solicitations, these RFPs, RFQs, RFIs, sources sought, are going out onto betasam.gov. And that's the platform where the government will post opportunities that they are purchasing. GSA schedules, you can see, comes in only at about 10% of the time. So why go down this narrow path unless, of course, you know that this is how your customer prefers to purchase. You've got other agency GWACs in there, and those are going to be your Navy Seaport E, NASA SOUP, and some of the other agencies and departments have their own contract vehicles. GSA is not the only game in town. You've also got set-aside contracts, and those are coming in at about 15% of the time. These are going to be the set-asides for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, 8A, and all the rest. OTAs, which are rising in popularity, are down there at about 2%, still a pretty big number, and sole source, meaning that you are the only entity out there that provides this type of product, service, or software. So again, before you decide to pull the trigger on getting onto a schedule, make sure that you know that that's how your customer prefers to purchase, because again, it's just one of many, many, many options that are out there. Okay, so let's talk about leveraging the public data that's out there. Again, you do have the aggregators that exist, and there's plenty of them that offer subscription services. They'll also run reports for you, as we do. But there are ways that you can obviously reverse engineer to understand the methodology of how your customer purchases and where you're going to have the best success. So you're going to use that data to really understand your customer and where you're going to go for the path of least resistance. Here's a couple that we like that are related to the federal supply schedule. You've got usaspending.gov, where you're going to get all of the forecast information. We also have links to this on our website, and you can navigate to that by using our jenniferschaus.com email website, sorry. Betasam.gov, as I mentioned, is where you're going to dig up historical information, looking at trends, upcoming opportunities, and really just dig into the data there, understanding how contracts were awarded, how many bidders went after the procurement, was it set aside, just all of the factors that would help you make that go, no-go decision. GSAadvantage.gov, particularly for the product and software companies, you'll find competitive information there, and that will help you understand competitor pricing and really just what your competitors are offering out there to GSA. The calc.gsa.gov site will give you information about hourly pricing. So any professional services firms should certainly be going there first before you decide to get onto the schedule, because you want to make sure that your rates are competitive with the others on the schedule. If you've got a, let's say, project manager with 10 years of experience and a bachelor's degree, and that the lowest you can go there, let's say, is $100 per hour, and everyone else on the schedule, comparing apples to apples, is coming in at $85 per hour, the schedule may not be right for you, because GSA will pretty much push you down to that lower rate. So make sure that that you've done your homework and that you haven't missed this very important step, gone through the process, then you get to negotiations with GSA, and all they then want is lower prices that would put you out of business. So do your homework. The data's out there. You just need to use it to make a smart decision. The SSQ website, which is the Schedule Sales Query, which is the last website that I've got listed here, is a little bit cumbersome to navigate, but it will help you really slice the data as far as looking at special item numbers within the schedule to understand how much revenue is being purchased through the schedule for your particular product, service, or software. That should be a big determination in your go, no-go decision. It'll also provide information on who the vendors are within that special item number, how much revenue they're doing by quarter as well as annually, again, specifically through the schedule. So that should help, again, make some decisions for you because it's going to be factual information. Again, back to the schedule, you want to make sure that you have read that solicitation. As I mentioned, once you get that award, it's a contract with terms and conditions. So find the solicitation, download it on the betasam.website. You want to make sure that you meet both the pre and post award requirements. Once you're on the schedule, there is a cost of doing business, and there is obviously a cost of getting onto the schedule. But you will need, it's highly encouraged and in your best interest to have a full-time sales rep who understands your business, your product, service, or software, understands government contracting, and understands GSA schedules in order to help steer business through your schedule so that you can meet that $25,000 sales quota that GSA instills on you, which is part of the terms and conditions. You also want to make sure that you've got somebody who understands the compliance component of the schedule, which there is a lot of reporting and some back office work. So again, it's just the cost of doing business. So again, kind of just going back to, you've won a federal supply schedule, now what? You really should not have that question. If you've done your homework, if you've used the data, basically instead of now what, you should say, you know, let's go. So again, you really want to make sure that the schedule is going to help you and that it's not a liability. If you are kind of scratching your head saying now what, then you probably have not done your homework and the schedule is a liability. So let's say that you have done the homework, it's in your best interest, your customer prefers to use the schedule, you've submitted your proposal, you've got your award, pop the champagne, celebrate, wait all of 30 seconds and enjoy the moment, but then you really need to get to work. You're going to have to bring in at least, as I mentioned, $25,000 per year through the schedule. The first year is a grace period, so the first 2 years, 25K is the nut that you need to hit, and then 25K every year thereafter. It's a 20-year contract as long as you maintain the terms and conditions and exercise all of your renewals. So let's talk about the post-award compliance. You've got the schedule, it's in your best interest, you're rocking and rolling and revenue's coming in through the schedule. But we'll back up for a moment here to ensure that once you've got that schedule that you have then uploaded your price list through the GSA SIP program, which is the schedule input program, that will then make your price list appear on the GSAadvantage.gov website, which that is a requirement, so that will help you be compliant. The transactional data reporting, this is where you report and pay the industrial funding fee, which is 0.75% of your GSA schedule sales. That's done on a quarterly basis. You also then need to register in the GSA eBuy system, which will give you the solicitation notification. So you get the RFPs, the RFQs, and everything associated with your schedule to help you be successful. Do not, I'll repeat, do not rely on the GSA eBuy portal to get those solicitations. You really want to make sure that again, you're being proactive and not reactive, that the schedule is in your best interest. You also want to make sure that your sales reps, particularly if you're a larger firm, that your sales reps on the commercial side understand the pricing restrictions and the rules now that your company has a federal supply schedule. No one other than GSA will be allowed to receive rates that are lower than your GSA rates. And that could end up in a pretty messy situation when GSA comes out for the customer assisted visits. So make sure that everybody in your company understands the pricing component, which is the largest piece of the GSA schedule. PostAward, some marketing tips here. You'll have that GSA logo that you can then slap on your website, your business cards, your capability statement, email, auto signature, and any other marketing paraphernalia that you may have. That GSA logo in any of these, let's say electronic platforms, whether it's your auto signature on your website, you want to make sure that that is linking then over to your GSA Advantage approved price list. Make it easy for the customers to understand that you've got the schedule, they can buy from you, and here's the link to what it is that you sell. Sales, post-award. So again, if you have done this reverse engineering, then basically you're just going to go back into your pipeline, and hopefully you've kept in touch with these prospects and that they're all warm leads, and let them know, hey, we're ready to rock and roll. We've got our GSA schedule. So keep that in mind. I also have grabbed a quote here from Steve Blank, the author of The 4 Steps to the Epiphany, which is a great book for entrepreneurs. If you have the build it and they will come strategy for getting onto this federal supply schedule, that's really not a strategy. It's, you know, it's a Hail Mary pass, it's a prayer, it's a build it and they will come, is not the best tactic to use. So make sure that you're using the data to drive your strategy. And some concluding remarks. I can't say enough, be proactive and not reactive. Use the data to have a strategy. If you're just reacting to RFPs that you see, then you're wasting time and money. You really should be putting the full effort up front to help you understand where to go, where the path of least resistance is. Look at the agency forecast, look at the SBA scorecard, who has the propensity to award contracts to small, women-owned, hub-zone, veteran-owned 8A businesses, what departments need to get their score up. That can really help you. Again, it could be part of your strategy. Look at past awards, what's coming up for renewal, who are the large businesses that may be looking for subcontractors, what is their pricing, does your pricing fit in with their pricing? All of that information is publicly available, so use it. Make sure that you do the competitive analysis on rates as well as awards. And then that's when you make that go or no-go decision, whether it's for the GSA schedule, whether it's for 8A certification or other contract vehicles or other strategies. Let the data guide you. So that's basically a wrap. If you have questions, feel free to contact us directly. Best method is email at hello@jennifershouse.com. Our phone number is 202-365-0598. Leave us a message. We'll call you back within 24 hours. And thanks again for joining us today.